you're down to the last bracket, the last four. You do go through your mind of, are we going to get in? And I guess I did that for a little bit, even though I kind of figured we would, but you never know in this day and age. I guess that first thing I'd like to say is, the video we had up there, it was fun to have the media up there. Most of you guys didn't eat. I was hoping you'd eat, then you wouldn't be as hard on me. I'd wine and dine you, but that didn't go over as big. And yet, to be there for the video that my guys put together that I didn't know about, Bill Raftery, good friend, what he did, I guess a week ago was pretty special for me. The only problem is it made me realize, where's Mateen? I need a couple of those players because there were some incredible highs during that time, and yet it kind of proved, if you looked at the different videos, which most of you maybe didn't follow as much, but there were times when we were 7th seed and made it to a Final Four. There were times we were 1 seed and got beaten the first weekend. So it really doesn't matter who you play. It really doesn't matter where you play. I thought it was beneficial for us not to have to go way out west and play there on a Thursday was the only thing I hoped. Other than that, I didn't care where we went. Being in Columbus, Big Ten country, it's nice for our fans. It's nice for our families. It's nice for the players' families. It's nice even for the media. It's not as long of a trip for you. And so we're looking forward to that. I've watched USC a few times. It's the advantage of not sleeping. Is those West Coast games start at 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, so you just kind of sit up and watch. I've watched them, but you don't watch them with the same vigor that you do when you know you're going to play them. I've known Andy for a while, their coach. Got a lot of respect for him, and looks like they're a team that's very good defensively. They've held opponents under 40%. It's about the only thing I do know about them, a good free throw shooting team. Those are always two things that fare well in an NCAA tournament if you can do both those things well. As far as we go, we came back, had a lot of meetings, had a lot of talks with a lot of guys on what I thought we did wrong and what I didn't think we did at a level you have to do it at to play in March. And hopefully we ironed some of those out. We went over some film today. We had a little practice today just in case we were going west. I wanted to get, a little sweat up and go through some things on that we might not face against Big Ten teams, like certain presses or zone defenses. So I kind of put our guys through that, an hour of film, 45 minutes of that, and it was really good. I thought the players were really good. They had a little meeting themselves to try to figure out, you get to this time of year, and it doesn't matter if it's in your business, in my business, the my bads, when you get, my bad, coach. No, you run out of my bads. There's no time for my bads now. There's no time for the little things, the mistakes you make that are maybe effort related or capable to make. Missing a shot is, that'll never change. It's always going to be, nobody tries to miss a shot. It's does everybody try to do the things they need to do their job? And that's kind of what our meetings were about. Are we doing our job individually? And that way you put it together with a team, and now it's collectively, and that's how you win. So I'm tickled to death that we're in the Midwest. I'm tickled to death that we get an opportunity. I think we'll be in the right frame of mind, but it's been an incredible year with a lot of different things that have happened, but nothing like March. And even though I didn't think we handled March last weekend very well, there's going to be those days, and it's how you bounce back from them that'll determine. So if there's questions from any of the media except the back two rows on the right, I'll take them. Those I get all the time from my wife, so I don't need to have her ask questions here.
Tom, every year we ask you about the streak. It got to 20 and 22 and 23. I didn't even know until 2 hours ago that you were the first one to 25. So personalize that a little. What does that mean?
Well, it means the world to me. It means I had a lot of good players. It means that I had a lot of good staff. It means that I had a lot of good fans. You don't win games over a period of time because of what you do. You win games because there's a collection of people that are all doing their job. And I've said this many, many times. The games we won because of our community, our fans, our students, you just wouldn't believe. But we come back in the locker room and say, that would have been a loss. There's at least 3 or 4 of those every year. Well, 3 or 4 makes the difference between something good and something average. So that matters. But I still remember winning the national championship, and everybody wanted to canonize, which they do. When you win something big, everybody thinks, you did it in 5 years. And I remember saying to some of you in this room that are old, Woj, not to mention names, but some of you guys that are old, I said, come back in 10 years, and then come back, and now it's been 20 years. And I think what anybody looks for in anything in life is, can you sustain success? Can you be consistent? And if you're consistent, there's going to be a little bit of ebbs and flows and ups and downs, but consistency, where you never really fall off. Are you in contention to do something? And do you have a chance? And that's kind of what I've built it on. That's kind of what I've wanted to do. And I mean, there's been times, it happened last weekend. I said, hey, I'll lose a game if we're not going to do this right. I mean, I said it right on the bench to people. I said, I don't need to win games. I need to figure out what do we need to do to win championships and to advance. So what does it mean to me? Probably everything. Probably more than any other thing, because it means you've had a group of people that have bought into a system, and you as the head coach have maintained some sense of consistency over a long time, and 25 years, and we probably would have had 26 if it wasn't for COVID, but 25 years is a long time, but I still hope the best is yet to come.
Tom, you mentioned watching them late at night, and obviously you have a more detailed scouting report, I'm guessing, in a few hours here, but what would be your, sitting next to a guy at a bar, scouting report of them just off the top of your head based on what you've seen late at night?
You trying to incriminate me that I was in a bar late at night, or is that what you're... they're athletic, they got some size, they got a heck of a guard, because from the Midwest, I can't remember his name as I look here. You're right, you got to give me another 2 hours and I'll have all that down for you. The greatest, what is great about March, right now there's 12 managers up there. And I swear to God, I just said, order pizzas, order, the chicken wings. And, this is when you eat crappy, you don't sleep, and they're like Santa's elves. These guys work so hard, and they're all getting their info now. Who's got this? Who's got that? And I left there, and I was in the middle of it, and that's what took me a little longer to come down here. And I just kind of gleamed, like, that to me is what it's all about. That's a memory maker, those kids. I mean, they are going to have an impact on us. So I'll know more about them. I really, other than a guard and a couple big guys, and the fact that, they've beaten some good people. I mean, they've beaten UCLA. Is UCLA a 1 seed, or are they a 2? They're a 2. So they've beaten UCLA, who's really good. I don't know. They lost at Arizona. They lost to Arizona twice, close. Arizona's is a 1 seed. So, they're good enough, and we'll know more about them, and we'll have the first 3 teams all scouted by the time tomorrow comes, so that we can look at, so that we can look at things we might have to work on, that if 2 of the other teams do some things that are off the wall, play a certain zone, do this, at least we can work on it. Because as you know, the program's to the point where it's still try to win the weekend. Winning the game is good, but you can't win the weekend without winning the first game, so I never look past it. But if you don't get out of the weekend, you don't get anything accomplished either. So it'll be a 3-team prep from my staff. Each one of them will have somebody. Those managers will work diligently today and tomorrow, And we'll have things down pretty good by tomorrow night for sure, and I'll give you a better scouting report.
I'm wondering about, you've already come out of one tournament that was probably as unpredictable as any. Where does this field rank? I saw you were kind of eyeballing all those brackets as they went by, but where do you think this field ranks in terms of unpredictability?
I think it is unpredictable. I mean, I've said all year, everybody, I watched Duke last night. They look awfully good. They're like a 4 or 5 seed, I just think it's the way it is. And some of it is because of the new rules and the way everything happens. Some of it is because I think players are having trouble maintaining a certain level throughout an expanded period of time. And that's going to be the new goal. When I get through this year, this spring and summer, that's what I'm going to look to, whether it's a pro team or it's a college team, whether it's a psychologist or psychiatrist or whatever it is, to try to figure out how to do a better job in maintaining some semblance of consistency on their part. It's a little bit more like this. But remember, the Malik Halls, the Joey Hausers, this age group has been through my own son. He's gone to class about 2 semesters out of 4 years, which I still think is damaging, And so I've got to understand that as a coach and yet not settle for the excuse. And that's a balancing act. And the only way you do it is to communicate with them and communicate with them and communicate with them, and that's what we try to do.
Tom, I'm thinking back to a year ago. At this time, Joey, in those 2 games, sort of took his game to another level compared to the season. Is there a guy you think maybe is on the precipice of that? Do you think that somebody needs to have that type of jump for you guys to make the run you guys keep talking about, or can you kind of...
Well, I know Joey is really excited. This is... I've never seen him so excited. He's not a guy that gets excited. And so I'm excited that he's excited, if that makes any sense. Hell of a lot of people excited around here, I guess. But I think, in general, who do we need to step up? Anybody that can guard somebody. That's who we need to step up. And we went through it today with him on film. We showed him, AJ's got to pick that up a lot, and he's capable of it because he's done it before. Malik, still got to get him where he's back practicing, he's back doing things, but doesn't look as athletic, and he talked to me about that. So we just got to do a better job of that, and we got to get a little more consistent on moving the ball. We were poor at it halfway through the year, then we became great at it. And the last game, the ball stopped a lot. There was not a lot of great ball movement. And so we're trying to improve that. That was one of the things we did at practice today. But who steps up? The unique part, we got a go-to guy that can get us a bucket in Tyson. But we've got other guys. AJ's had big games. Joey's had some big games. Jaden's had some big games, Malik early in the year had some big games. And even when he came back against Michigan, Illinois, he played very well. So I don't know who it is. That's what makes you not sleep well at night. Now I won't be able to watch those damn West Coast games because nobody's playing. So I'll just have to sit there and think about it. Maybe I'll come up with a better answer.
Coach, just curious about if you look at the other programs who've been able to sustain a long streak like your program. You've got Kansas, North Carolina, Duke, Gonzaga. I guess what's it mean to you personally that Michigan State is alongside those programs in the upper echelon of college basketball?
Well, I remember recruiting, and that's how delicate it is. It was just Kentucky not that long ago that didn't play in one. It's now North Carolina that's not playing in one. Duke has... Mike had that 1 year, and then now he's had a hell of a stretch. Mark Few has done a great job at Gonzaga. But I remember recruiting Mateen Cleaves and telling him that, we'll get on TV. That was the big thing then. We couldn't get on TV. Everything was Michigan in the Fab Five. And so I had to convince him of that. And once we did... that was the whole mission and goal of everything, to to maintain a level and play against the teams. He said, I want to play the best. I'll still remember one sad story, his senior year. All he wanted to do was beat North Carolina for some reason. And his senior year, I scheduled him. I scheduled anybody he wanted to schedule. In fact, I did just about anything he wanted to do now that I think back on it. But not a bad idea, though. But anyway, that's when he had his broken foot, and he walked into the arena in North Carolina on crutches. And he looked up and he saw Jordan's thing and all that. And I remember Morris Peterson and Charlie Bell came over and said, you better go talk to Matina. And I went over there. He was crying like a 2-year-old. I mean, that was his dream. That was his passion. That's what he wanted to do. And I said, you don't get to play North Carolina, we're going to have to win a national championship. And that's kind of where it started, as far as that year. And I remember that same year we played Wright State. Some of you, well, let me look around here. Woj, you were the only guy, I guess. Yeah, you were there. Oh, Fred, you were there?
I wasn't there, but I remember.
Yeah. So we played Wright State, and he was sitting on the bench, and, we were one in the country, and they weren't really good. And I was supposed to fly down and meet my family at the bowl game in Orlando. And I was speaking at the alumni thing that next day, which was New Year's, and we got beat, and he's on the bench, and he called me every name in the book because I wouldn't play him. And he says, I'm healthy, I'm fine. No, not doing it, man, not doing it. You got another week, and then, we got a week off before the Big Ten starts, and he was not real enthralled with my decision. And then when we lost, I was not very happy with my decision, because I remember walking through those airports and people, hey, that's the guy that just lost #1 team in the country to Wright State, and so between those couple of things that happened, those were the driving influence. But I think that's what everybody needs. Everybody needs somebody to lead their team on the court. And that's what I keep telling AJ, you need somebody that is a coach on the floor that drives other people, makes other people better than they actually are. He was the best at it, so he carried me.
We got time for a couple more, Kyle and then Bob.
Tom, no one on your current roster has made it out of the first weekend of the NCAA tournament, and obviously you want to go on a run every year, but is that maybe more of a rallying cry maybe for some of your older guys?
It is, but like I told that guy from Columbus, what you got to be careful about is, we had actually 2 COVID years. I mean, one when we didn't even get to play, and one when it was so screwed up, it was like Hogan's goat, it was all over the place. And so, when I went to Columbus, they said, well, he hasn't been to a Sweet 16 in 4 years. I said, well, he can only possibly could have been there in 3 years because they didn't have one. So, is it a rallying cry? That's the other funny thing about this day and age is figuring out how to drive people and not put too much pressure on them. And especially this age group, always, but this group of kids that have been through so much with COVID and everything, it's really a balancing act. So, one thing I'll do tomorrow morning, we have an 8 o'clock meeting, and I'll meet with my upperclassmen and I'll talk about it. I'm going to just tell them right out, this is what I want to do. Can you handle it? Can they handle it? So it's a little different than how I used to be. And that bothers me, but it's part of the cards you're dealt, and you've got to learn how to make adjustments without changing, what you really believe in. And that's been taxing on me at times the last 2 years, but I keep looking back and I keep understanding. So will it be a battle cry? Somewhere it will be. How much pressure I put on that kind of be determined by what happens in the conversations I have with my own guys, because the players still play the game and they're the ones that are important.
For the record, I'm still younger than you, Tom, by a considerable margin.
Yeah, but I look better than you, to be honest with you. So, low bar. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
I won't dispute that. You've talked about worried about the defense, and it was there, and then it slipped a little bit. That's something that worries you in tournament time. But what about your guard play? You have to have good guards, and you certainly have good ones to choose from. Don't you think one or two or three of those will emerge and be the ones that you'll lean on?
Yeah, and I think I'll need all three of them. Usually guards win NCAA games. I think at times I could have the best three defensive guards I've had in a long time. Mateen and Charlie, were great. Travis Walton and, I've never really had three. I mean, Jaden Akins can guard anybody. Tyson Walker, even though he's small, he's really good defensively. And AJ at times, I thought could be the defensive player of the year in the league. You've seen how well Pickett played. I think everybody forgets AJ did an unbelievable job up there, and we beat him pretty good early in the year, and it was a lot because of AJ. So I think collectively, and that's one thing I talked about in my meeting today, that our guards have to do a good job. Do I think they will? I do. But I don't think it'll just take one. I think it's going to take a group of them, because that three-point shot, I mean, you watch that Purdue game, they're up 15. I felt bad at being up 10 and losing at Iowa. Purdue was up 15. They're the number one team in the country, and they almost got beat. So the three-point line changes everything. Guards are usually the ones that are guarding the three-point line. So, yeah, I feel good. Over the season, all three of them have played well enough defensively that they could really help carry us. It's now, can they do it collectively? And if they do it collectively, then you go from good to great, and that's kind of what we're looking to do.
Hey, Tom, thank you, Matt. Haven't been able to see you. I just want to share something before I pose my question. I kind of shared it with you privately upstairs, but I just want to acknowledge you publicly for the role you've played in being a leader throughout the campus crisis that was rooted in mental health. Your evolution has been amazing, and when I talk to students on campus, they often reference you and how you've helped them. So I wanted to just share that personally.
Thank you.
As you say, hats off. But as we look into the MHSAA descending that's about to happen, all these kids are going to be up here playing some of their last basketball, girls and boys. What message do you have for them, the parents, the teams, to take in this moment? They don't have 12 great graduate assistants to work on things, but just what message can you give them to make the most out of this?
Well, that's great, and it's great of you, and in your profession, you understand what we're talking about with the mental health issues and all the things that go on. But, I think all those coaches got a big role in how to put pressure and keep pressure off, I mean, when I had some of those guys from Cleves to Walton to Valentine to, I could name them, even Miles or Jaron, even superstars. Before COVID, you could go at them and you could drive them because, like when you get into a timeout, timeouts are 30 seconds and you got to get a lot done in that timeout. And so you got to have everybody focused in on what you're talking about. And I think if there's one word that all this stuff that we've gone through, everything we've gone through, affects people is focus. I don't think people focus long enough. Can they maintain their focus? Because if they do, they know what to do. That's why I'm talking like Bob said, we've had guys that have, I feel comfortable about the defense because we've been there, done that before. But can we do that consistently? And we were pretty consistent defensively, not very consistent offensively. Then we started making baskets. I think guys got more dates. I think they got more applause. I think they got more things on Twitter. So they all felt good about making shots, and they forgot to guard somebody. And so that's been really the battle cry is, why can't we do both? Well, to do both, you got to focus 20 seconds on one end and 20 seconds on the other end, or 30. And that's kind of what we're going to work on tomorrow, what we're going to work on in film sessions. I got to figure out some motivational films. We got to come up with something, because if we hadn't done it before, I would be scared to death, because I know you don't win without your defense in an NCAA tournament. It just doesn't happen. You might win a game, but you aren't winning a series of games. And yet I feel comfortable that, we have done it. We've just got to, find it and convince them that the consistency of this will make you have a memory-making experience. So for those kids, kind of got away from the question, those kids, I'm just big on memory-making moments. You know, give me a memory-making moment, you know? And, you know, I watched, my dad brought me down to the high school tournaments. They were in Ann Arbor, in fact, and I watched a guy named Charlie Coles, who I loved to death, and he coached Saginaw High, and the way he handled some things, and Bobby Chapman, who played here and unfortunately just passed away. And I learned so much. So I think you can learn much playing, but you can learn a lot watching. And when you get to these tournaments, I hope people come to this place and give these kids the opportunity of big crowds like it used to be, you know? It's kind of not the same, and we got to get it back to that. And that's why I did what I did today. We got to find a way to get things. It's not old school, it's right school, you know? And that's kind of the way I look at things. And so, I don't know, is there anybody else?
No, that's it. We'll have one of these by tomorrow to talk about USC.
Again?
You don't get Mondays off?
Huh?
You don't get Mondays off?
I do, hopefully in a couple weeks, but not right now. All right, guys, thanks. Appreciate it.
If you're worried about the food, bring the leftovers tomorrow.
Bring the leftovers tomorrow.